Thanks for joining us for AM Talk, and it's brought to you by Diameg Diagnostics, and it is the center which is your ultra-modern diagnosis center specializing in the treatment of fibroid. Their competent and well-trained staff will ensure that you undergo the treatment of fibroid without any operation under hygienic conditions and the application of modern medicine and technology in their practice. They are located at Okponglo Junction in Accra and TUC in Kumasi. You can call them on the following number 02431761119 or 02075155623 or 02733270054. Diameg Diagnostics. We treat fibroid without any operation. Now, I guess for the show, I have in the studio Ernesto Yeboah. Is a Deputy Communications Director for the Convention People's Party. And thanks for joining me.
Ray, thank you very much. But I'm sure... exactly, National Youth Organizer.
Yeah, the youth organizer. He's a youth organizer of the CPP. I was wondering how come the position had changed. Anyway, how are you?
I'm well.
Okay.
You?
Have you been hearing the news just published in the papers this morning that apparently the tap water we've been drinking has toxins in it?
Well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at a news like that, because for some time I've been wondering if our water sector is protected enough. Just yesterday I was coming from the Western region, and I was asking myself, I mean, these water bodies, I mean, if they are not polluted, I mean, through the activities of galamsey operators, then it's something else.
But they are
got
refined,
close to.
They?
Yes,
they
are.
go through some process of.
Yes, but I pray it doesn't happen. A day when a bad person may decide to poison our waters, I mean, deliberately. How is the Ghana Water Company going to deal with a situation like that, given their mundane test on, I mean, using chlorine and all of that most of the time to just purify the water and then get us? I'm happy with the CSIR for their research, because these and many more are the reasons for which this particular organization was established, and I'm happy to hear that at least the CSIR has taken the initiative to do a research of that nature. I was talking about the Western region. I'm seeing that at the beaches you have, I mean, these fungi, algae, I mean, along the stretch. And a lot of people aren't using the beaches any longer. It would be interesting for your cameras to visit the place one of these days and find out. And I was told that that's one of the first signs of, how do you call it, the effects of the oil find, because they blast it, I mean, beneath the sea, and then the effect is that it produces that's algae. I don't know, so I
sure?
can't. Yes, so I can't say much about
Algae,
it. But what I know is that
they don't grow in sea water. They grow in lagoons and.
Well, but I've seen a lot of it, and even on a holiday
water.
like May Day, I thought that people would come out in their numbers like as usual to come in, and there was nobody.
The exploration is 63 or 64 nautical miles
away from. That's why I'm saying that the explanation I got from the people around.
Wrong explanation.
But then they know that something is definitely wrong with their waters, which is something that, I mean, should, I mean, get the attention of the nation.
Well, we'll see how that goes. And I drink tap water. Do you?
I mean, certainly, I drink tap water when I get it. And these days, sachet water has also taken a greater chunk of our lives, especially when you are in traffic and you have no access to tap water. Certainly, I mean, you go for these sachet water.
Wow. You're frightening us then. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, he's a presidential candidate of the MPP, has charged Ghanaians to be mindful of their decision they will be making at the November 2016 polls. Your presidential candidate also, Ivor Kobna Green Street, had been also making his rounds and also saying that he's the best man for the job. Okay. The ultimate is to unseat the incumbent, President Mahama.
Certainly. And Roland, everything is clear that the NDC should not be in government at the end of the November polls.
But the NPP want to be ahead of you, the CPP.
Well, we know what they did when they were in government, and it's not a matter of fighting amongst ourselves. Currently, our objective is to unseat the NDC that is fast growing to become a tyrant, a kakai, I mean, to use Shatawali's, how do you call it, words, in the lives of the people of Ghana. And some way, somehow, they don't understand that no matter how much you bleach falsehood, like Buko Mbanku, there is no way that falsehood could become truth. And so President Mahama and the government needs to wake up. We have seen too many of it. Even with the limited registration exercise, we saw how they sought to impose themselves on the people using their power of incumbency, employing state, how do you call it, security to their advantage and all of that in protection of sometimes Ivorians against the residents themselves. I was actually based in the Western region where I witnessed things from I mean, an eyewitness perspective. And from Jomoro, for instance, you go to Leocran's residence, and we saw the army and the police not there to, as it were, protect the people or the residents. They were actually there to enforce wrongdoing. We saw it in many other places, and it was frightening. So clearly, when a party or a government is about losing power, these are some of the manifestations of its force that you see in seeking to impose or retain itself in power. So Nana Addo is right to point out to the people of Ghana that, look, if your livelihood is better, if you have better living conditions, then retain this government. That's the whole essence of retaining a party in power. So if they are not meeting that natural aspiration where people could say that they are happy, that they are living in this country, then, I mean, there's no point retaining them, I mean, at posts. I'm a youth, and I look at many young people across the length and breadth of the country, and the only conclusion that I have come to is that we do not see our future in this country. Many of young people you speak to want to travel outside to go and make it. Those who have even had the privilege of university education, I mean, are jobless or have decided to go out of the country to look for greener pastures. For me, this is testament of the fact that our country is not pulling its weight when it comes to even the issues of the economy and all of that, and even what alternatives are on the table.
But on the other side too, the country is not only made up of young people. There are communities who have been provided with infrastructure, etc., which logically means that the community should be satisfied with whatever infrastructure that the government of the day has provided.
Young people,
unless we want to say that those communities, they look at their lives and so they decide that, well, we didn't like the infrastructure that was built in our community. As a result of that, would want something better.
Every government would have an infrastructural facility to their credit. So it's basically not about that. Before President Mahama put up, how do you call it, the school building, there was education of a sort. So, I mean, whether it was under trees, they were actually getting education. So the essence, I mean, existed. What we are talking about is whether people are able to meet their natural aspirations. They are able, they can say that, look, I'm a fulfilled human being living in this country like the way our colleagues elsewhere could say to themselves. Somebody can get up and say,
so
I love this country.
It's all bleak and gloom around
It's
us.
bleak. Go to places in Western region like Cocoa Town, where all the cocoa is coming from. And you get there and they tell you that we don't have water. I mean, this is serious.
Well, we'll be having in the studio Deputy Communications Officer for the NDC, Fred Agbenyo, and he will be joining us for the discussions. So now we have Fred Agbenyo joining us for the discussions. Fred, thanks for joining me.
All
right, so we're discussing Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who one of his runs over the weekend told the people who met him that if they feel that their livelihood is okay enough, then they should retain the NDC in power. But if they feel that things are bad, then they need to make a change.
Well, I thank you very much. Let me say good morning to yourself and our cherished viewers. Nanado is contesting for elections, and naturally you meet people who are going to vote in the elections, who are going to make a decision, and it's to do his right to want to campaign and to put his message across. If he chooses to make the standard of living as one of his messages, nobody can stop him or prevent him from doing that. But the good thing is that the people of this country have the opportunity to independently assess any such cause on them. Those of us who are students of history, who have tried to study the history of this country, knows for a fact that when it comes to the issue of conditions of the standard of living and the conditions in which people live, the very things that we are saying today are things that were said even in the days of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Indeed, if you read Nkrumah's own account, at the point he said, if you knew that people wanted milk to drink, all the money spent in building a coastal border in Mahaba would have used that money in providing milk.
Where did he say this?
Through the taps for them. At the time, people complained about several other things that we are complaining about today. In fact, you can check through history, almost every government, people have complained about these things. The point I want to make really is that human beings by nature, our needs, our wants will change on a daily basis. Once your circumstances change, you want something new. Today you are driving a car, depending upon the type of car that it is. If by the grace of God tomorrow something comes into your pocket, that your very car that you cherished so much yesterday becomes something that you want a new one. Sometimes I find it difficult when, for instance, people who are working are calling for increment in salaries and stuff like that. Maybe somebody 5 years ago was taking a 200,000 Ghana cedi salary. 5 years down the line, his salary has moved to about even 20,000 cedis. And yet he thinks that the banana seller should continue to sell banana at the one that he was buying it 5 years ago. He thinks that the farmer who goes to the farm to bring the tube of yam should continue to sell the yam at the 10% that he was selling it. Because this farmer too has needs, he has to pay school fees, he has to do all the other things. So naturally, human life does not retrograde, doesn't go back. Human life moves on. Standard of living goes on. Once your salaries are changing, it is moved from 1,000 Ghana cedis to 2,000 Ghana cedis. You naturally expect all other things to move along. It's a natural phenomenon everywhere in the world. And so it depends on how you look at it. I have said that Ghana is a country that's on a path to development. We've not arrived yet. And so the very basic thing that I would have expected that it should be with us by now are simply not there. Now, not too long ago, we were described as a third world country, a developing country. It comes across like a boy or a girl who leaves the parents in the house. They pay your school fees, they provide accommodation, they provide shelter, everything that you need, they provide for you, including your feeding. Suddenly you say you are a middle income country, a lower middle income country. Now all those donor things that you were getting, either to remember the grants and all those things quickly.
The rate at which you even got some of those concessionary loans.
The loans and the rest, everything changed immediately.
Yeah.
Because remember when we were starting this metro mass transport thing, the German government came and said, listen, these are free buses, take and go and do metro mass transport.
That was the Dutch government.
The Dutch government, the school feeding program, the same Dutch government came, they gave us money, maternal from the UK government. Free. You know, so our budget at the time
to give us some grants.
Some grants
for roads.
Our budgets at the time, almost 50% from the European Union, they were given to us for free of charge. Today,
so you're saying that we just need to make sure we get into true reality. And
yes,
know that
of course. But Roland, you have, I'm sure you've traveled quite a number of times, traveled to Europe, America, and the rest. When it comes to even these utilities that they pay, electricity, water, and the rest, they pay so much. The only good thing is that out there, you pay for the service and you enjoy the services. They are readily available. You pay your road tolls, your roads are in good condition. You pay for water, your water is
so why can't we have same here?
That is what all of us should be calling for. That's what all of us should be working towards. That yes, once we are asking us to pay more for electricity, assure us that every time of the day we want electricity, we have it in the house. Once you are calling us to pay more for water, assure us that every time we want water, we have it in the house. This is the call that we should be making to people in authority, and making sure that they provide those things for us. But for anybody to think that a time is going to come when water is going to be free, when electricity is going to be free, when lorry fares are going to be free, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Governance is not a miracle. Governance is not magic. So it is easy for people to sit on the fence or when they're out there to make all manner of promises. I'm not too sure if Nana Addo becomes a president tomorrow, he is going to reduce water tariffs, electricity tariffs, or lorry fares, or any of the things that we are talking about. It will go up, and history is there to guide us. We remember for 2000 election, those were the days they will go and raise a gallon of petrol, 6,500, and when we come, we reduce it. We remember their first increment was 92%. Subsequent one, almost 100%. From 6,400, by the time they were leaving office, we all saw where it was. And so we are in a very, an election period. All manner of promises to be made. People will come and throw all manner of things at the people of this country. But I just want the people to sit back, reflect over the issues, soberly, and find out if indeed the promises that are being made are genuine promises that can be fulfilled, or promises that are being made so that to sway people to vote in a particular way. And these are things, Ghanaians are so smart, they are so wise, they are so intelligent. I don't doubt their ability to reason for themselves, and then they'll take appropriate decision at the right time.
And as we enter the electioneering, we're going to hear a lot more of messages from you, the political parties, and we know ultimately, unseating John Dramani Mahama, the incumbent, is the goal for all of you. If once you have to design messages and for specific electorates in specific areas, do you take into cognizance that if you look at the history of the elections, they have core supporters who, no matter what you do, will always be voting for one party or the other?
Well, that's to make the point that minds never change. And we all know what is said about minds that never change. I don't think that the people of Ghana are in that category. The reason why they would vote for the NDC in the last election, or even the MPP, was because they had expectations. So once those expectations are not met, you can't think that the people of Ghana would continue to vote for them no matter what. But let me correct an impression that my brother Agbenyo puts across. And the NDC is fond of that. They always more or less lie about, how do you call it, Kwame Nkrumah, for their own convenience. Where did Kwame Nkrumah ever state that if he knew the people of Ghana wanted milk, that is all that he was going to, give them? The country was on the path of self-sufficiency. We had industries for almost every consumer. Have you read the literature of
Dr. Kwame Nkrumah very, very well?
Look, I have. He wrote, how do you call it, Dark Days
in
Ghana.
Let's go.
And all of that. I've read all his 16 books and all up, his writings, and nowhere does he state that if he thought that the people of Ghana wanted milk. In fact, that is even to create the impression that the illegal overthrow was something popular. It wasn't popular. More than 2,500 people died on that day of the illegal overthrow. This isn't a popular uprising of the people. So that needs to be, stated. Now, we also have to make the point that it is sad that you have an NDC communicator who comes to sit here and tell the people of Ghana that life will never change, you suffer, whilst in other countries, life has become so good that just about, I think, last week in Germany, they've gotten to the point where they even encourage their citizens to use more, how do you call it, electricity or energy. Because
at the same time too, you go to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, etc., Bolivia, they are increasing fuel prices.
But we are talking about political administrations.
Even in Nigeria, they were queuing some few weeks ago.
They are there to make the lives of the people better. And I have cited, how do you call it, the example of Germany, where it's got to a point where even people are paid for using electricity. I was watching this WhatsApp video. I don't know exactly where it was happening in this country, but the people are so angry to the point that they have taken to destroying prepaid meters. That is symbolic of the economic hardship imposed on them by the NDC administration. You can't have, such a government in
place. Point sir. All right, now...
No, I don't know if I can just make a very quick intervention. We don't need to debate this issue. I will not come and say on national television and make a categorical statement, attribute whatever that Kwame Nkrumah if has not said that. Go and listen to one of the tapes Nkrumah did when he was in Guinea Conakry, when it was overthrown.
Because Nkrumah I remember prior to his death.
Yes, Nkrumah said
he wrote several letters and made certain promises. But that's okay.
Yes, but he never said that.
I'm not sure that Fred was trying to
blamed the people of Ghana
exactly
for
say
the
what
coup
Dr.
d'etat.
Kwame Nkrumah said. And we all know, we all read history, so sometimes let's not go in that.
The second issue
is a propaganda. That's not history. That's propaganda.
I didn't say that the people of the country should continue to suffer. I was just pointing at a reality.
What is that reality?
That what things don't stay the same.
What is that reality?
At least
when
let
you
me
go,
just finish.
look at the how do you call it? Commander Sugar Factory. You go and sign an agreement that says that the sugarcane farm should, be handled by India, meaning that we are going to import farmers from India to come and farm. Work in a sugarcane plantation.
How did you come by this conclusion?
Is that an agreement to sign?
Roland,
okay. Wait, you have a situation where gold, 97% of our gold has been signed to, how do you call it, foreign interest to handle. And then you sit down and tell us that, things are going to remain worse. We have to change the nature of our economy. If you don't control the economy, there's no way you can change it. If you don't own the economy, there's no way you can change it.
Roland, I have not said that the people of this country should continue to suffer.
That's what you said.
I was just facing a reality that in human life,
what's the reality?
When I lived with my parents in the house, when I was not paying any utility, when I was not paying for accommodation, when I was not buying my clothes, life for me was easy. I was just going about my normal life until I was hit with the reality when I had to move out to go start paying my own rent, start paying my own utility. That was when it dawned on me that I need to manage my resources and manage them very well and be responsible for my life. That is the call I'm making.
The only reality is that we have an incompetent government in place. That is the only reality. I think that this lies won't continue.
You understand? So the Commander Sugar Factory issue you spoke about cannot be true. Because just recently when President visited Central Region, he visited the factory is over 90-something% completed. Even there, it was announced on that day that outgrowers will be going to sugarcane.
I think it was an insert that was played on
That's right.
The media.
It was announced that those who want to go, how much money will be paid to them when they produce a tonnage of sugarcane. So if you come and sit here and say that I'm going to bring India to go into the sugar plantation, really, those are all your own creation, and I'm not going to take that away from you. The reality is that this is a government that has come up with its own homegrown solution to our economy, that we want to take the economy in our own hands. For all these years after Commander Sugar Factory was allowed to decay, the Asituare one, we have always been buying sugar in this country. Go and check the figures involved that we use in buying sugar every day. This government has come and said, no, this must not continue. Let's produce our own sugar and use our own sugar. This government has come and said, listen, we cannot continue to import shoes for our security services and even pupils in school. Let's start doing something on our own that we are doing. This government has come and said, listen, let's take charge of our port. Let's get a free port. Let's expand on our port. Let's create the environment for Ghanaians to move on. For every economy to grow, you need to lay the foundation and lay a very solid foundation for that matter. And so if you sit here and say that this is an incompetent government, the government has not done anything, for me, I want to see a leadership, for instance, that manages a party like CPP that you belong to. What leadership have you brought to bear in managing just the political set called CPP?
It's because they've not been given a chance. They are given a chance by the voters.
One should prove that you can manage.
I wanted us to talk about the Smarties Bus branding deal, because Occupy Ghana said it is heading back to court to challenge the Attorney General's refusal to release a document on the 3.6 million Ghana cedi controversial deal. And a leading member of the pressure group, Ace Ankuma, says this document contains the AG's recommendation that some key officials involved in the deal be prosecuted. And of course, they were not prosecuted. And so Occupy Ghana says we would want to take a look at that and try to see whether they can do something about it. I wanted us to discuss that, but we can't. We have to call it a morning. Diamond Diagnostic Center is your ultramodern diagnosis center, which specializes in the treatment of fibroid, and their competent and well-trained staff will ensure that you undergo the treatment of fibroid without surgery, all under hygienic conditions, and the application of modern technologies in practice. They are located at Okponglo Junction in Accra and TUC in Kumasi. Diamond Diagnosis Center, they treat fibroid without any operation. My guest for the morning, Ernesto Yeboah, is a National Youth Organizer for the CPP, and thanks for joining me, Ernesto.
Thank you.
All right, and then also Fred Agbanyo is a Deputy Communication Officer for the NDC. Thanks for joining me, Fred.
Thanks, bro.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more for you. To stay on.